Ladies and gentlemen, like we're here, but you might notice we are here a slight day early. That is because tomorrow, when we would usually record on a Thursday night, Thanksgiving Day football will be on and in full swing. And I tell you what, one thing that you guys are not gonna do, like I love you both a lot, and I'm very appreciative for the time I spent. You're not peeling me away from Thanksgiving Day football. I'm not doing it. Not to look at you both, not to talk about football to you both. I'm just not doing it. Carl and Sam, how are we on this fine Wednesday evening?
Yeah, good. All good.
Yep, all good. Calm down after my live performance on the Pats pod. Literally, we got fish slapped over the weekend, but apart from that, all good, all good.
My my question to you is, have you gone back and checked what restrictions are now on your YouTube channel?
I really couldn't give a toss if that's the case.
I'm just asking if you have.
The
Not where.
podcast is the podcast under the YouTube regulation. It say it's not for children. We are fine. We can say whatever the hell we want without getting demonetized because, well, we're nowhere near it. But
Well,
that's besides the point.
that every cloud, Carl, every cloud. With that in mind, I want to start this episode off with an apology. There is a level of expectation that's brought upon me as a human being, purely because I have brought something to the network that nobody else has, the MacGuffins. And I have failed this podcast in not mentioning that over a week ago, the MacGuffin changed hands. The NFL MacGuffin changed hands, and I forgot to have that mentioned on the podcast. So, if you are unfamiliar with what the college football MacGuffin is, I will do a brief. The football MacGuffin is. I'll put a brief YouTube video on. There's a video on our TikTok page about it. You can go and find it. I'm not getting into it right now. We're going to try and fly through this episode. But the MacGuffin changed hands. The Chiefs held it, and the Buffalo Bills took it off them. And that wasn't mentioned, and that is on me. And I can only sincerely apologize as the only person on this network who cares about the MacGuffins. I can only apologize. With that in mind, do we have any news this week?
So I think the biggest news that came out this week was that Daniel Jones got cut from the New York Football Giants. That organization basically snaked their way out of paying Daniel Jones, not because he wasn't any good, because we kind of knew he wasn't very good for the last 2 or 3 years now, but because if he ever got injured, it will trigger an injury insurance policy where the Giants would have to pay Daniel Jones $23 million if he got injured during in play. So they benched him to be QB4 and scout team on safety, which is basically another level of disrespect. They've cut him, and the Minnesota Vikings have signed him to the practice squad. It's only for the remaining of the year, $375,000. So it's literally a drop in the bucket. It doesn't get even a kicker or a long snapper doesn't get. It gets paid a bit more than that. However, I do believe Daniel Jones has gone to a position where, if it is just for this season, he can work under Kevin O'Connell, who knows how to work the quarterbacks. He's already revitalized Sam Darnold. So there is something to look out for there. And also, if any NFL team loses a QB for the remaining of the season, Daniel Jones is allowed to be signed by any of the other 31 NFL teams to their main 53-man roster because he is only a practice squad player. So good luck to Daniel Jones if he does stay at Minnesota, but he still needs to reevaluate, his career because he's starting from scratch all over again.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest news regarding of that. Um, Also, something just popped up on my phone as well. Aidan O'Connell is going to be fit to play against the Chiefs this coming Friday night. Obviously, the Magic Mustache Gardner Minshew is done for the season, so Aidan O'Connell is now back in.
Yeah.
So
So
good luck with that anyway.
Daniel Jones is starting his career from scratch. Now you've heard of a healthy scratch. He's just got paid a lot of money. Can we call this a wealthy scratch?
a wealthy scratch that didn't deserve to be paid, but
I am.
that's besides the point.
If you can't, if anyone who's watching you, if you can't tell, but I'm very tired, so I apologize. This is the humor that you're getting off me tonight. And if you listen to the college football pod, this is the humor that you're gonna get from me tonight. This is where I'm at mentally. But as far as Daniel Jones goes, in fact, no. Let me just drop a couple of little bits of news that I've got. The Lions have placed Khalif Raymond on IR. That's horrible. That's heartbreaking. He's a very, very valuable piece to this offense. And the also Jameson Williams, as we reported a couple of weeks ago, he was being investigated on a firearms charge. He has been cleared of that. He will not be facing any more on that. And I believe Jabril Peppers has also been cleared of his charges and he's no longer on the commissioner's exempt list.
That is correct, yeah. How ironic they do it just as we finish below 500 as well. But anyway,
Well, um, the yeah, I'm sure that was the process behind. The Daniel Jones thing though is interesting, and I actually think, well, who right now? I know JJ McCarthy's on IR and out for the season. Is it Nick Mullins who's their backup quarterback now?
yes,
Still Nick Mullins. Is DJ better than Nick Mullins?
yes.
Well, there you go.
You looking, I don't know if you look in disbelief or Sam looks in disbelief. I don't know.
Again,
Hey,
not disbelief, just tired. I would agree. I would wholeheartedly agree that for $375,000, Daniel Jones is better than
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Mm,
Definitely for that, especially at that point. I think someone like KOC can. I'm not saying work wonders with DJ, but KOC can certainly provide value and be a much better resource and asset to DJ than Brian Daboll ever was.
mm,
I and he's going to go to a team that, let's face it, that Vikings team, although they will not win the division this year, they will be in the playoffs. And if anything happens, he gets to go and be a playoff quarterback. I do have another thought on this, by the way, and it's more of a hypothetical situation. But I want to throw it to Sam and ask Sam what you think of this as well before I throw it at you. What do you think on the DJ situation, Daniel Jones situation?
I don't see the point in him going to the Vikings. I just don't. I think the whole situation is it's just a big way of getting out of paying someone a lot of money and basically just what they've done is just a complete and utter mess, really. And I don't get what they're going to get out of getting rid of him, but also I think that there are the other quarterbacks that they've got. I mean, is it Tommy DeVito and
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock? Are they better than DJ? No. Is
no,
it DJ's fault that the Giants are so bad and that hasn't played well?
he's
I
not the fault. He's partly at fault, but there's more layers to the punishment
Yeah. So
than
I
against
think that the
Giants.
situation of getting rid of him is just a really bizarre situation for the Giants to do. And I think that, I mean, me personally, I don't understand the Vikings getting him, and I get it's just on a practice squad, but there are teams out there, as I've already mentioned, that I think would do real that would he would benefit from being at, and that kind of need, you know, a starting quarterback as a backup. And I mean, I've already mentioned, I mean, that I think the 49ers would, although it's not an ideal situation, I think having Daniel Jones as a number two quarterback on essentially what would be a 1 year deal. It's not going to be a lot of money. They don't
And
pay their current quarterback at the moment anyway, because he's only a rookie on a very, very low contract. Realistically, would he be better going somewhere like that? Because they need a quarterback with Brock Purdy's shoulder injury looking like it's potentially going to be, well, they don't really know how he's going to look in terms of the next few weeks, but would he do better at somewhere like that?
It's a great point.
it is a good point.
It,
But I would counteract by saying that when he was with the Giants, if you look at his head coaches that he's had Pat Shermer, he's had Joe Judge, that was a freaking disaster class, and they had Brian Dable. Brian Dable was meant to be the guru who took Josh Allen to the next two or three levels. Was supposed to be the guy to come in to actually help Daniel Jones. But Brian Dable came in as the coach, so you had to do offense and defense, and I think it just kind of hasn't worked out there. So is this a case of we have put him with an offensive guy, but unfortunately it's still not worked? So is this a case of Daniel Jones is just uncoachable, or is this a case of he's not being coached in the correct way
Oh,
for his development, or is he what Todd McShay said 6 years ago when it was draft time that he is nothing more than a day two pick and a backup quarterback?
oh. No, I can't remember who it was before, but it's Joe Schoen, who's the Giants GM right now.
Joe Jones needs to be fired as well.
Who do you know who it was before that?
No.
No.
No. Well, I don't. I th there has to be blame there as well. I think what's wrong with the Giants is not overly similar, but has crossover with what's wrong with the Jets, and it's top down,
They are dysfunct. They are
top down.
yep. The fish rots on their head down. Two dysfunctional franchises. They are two cheeks on the same arse.
Um, but what I want to pose to you a hypothetical. Now I've actually just realised that this hypothetical can no longer happen because actually it involves the Chiefs, not the Vikings, and this would make the hypothetical very different. However, I'm going to still pose it to you in some sort of way. I want you to imagine that at the end of this season, Sam Darnold goes down, and let's face it, as we've just said, Daniel Jones is a better option than Nick Mullins. Now gets put in a good offense with a decent O line and all that sort of stuff, in a pretty well in a relatively well run organization, if I do say so myself about them. He goes into the playoffs, he wins his first game, and then by whatever miracle, and again, this how you know it's hypothetical that the Lions don't make it. The Lions get knocked out, and you get to the NFC Championship game. And Daniel Jones has just taken the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. And there he goes to meet Saquon Barkley, who's just carried the Philadelphia Eagles to the NFC Championship game. I would imagine that the whole New York Giants facility would not have televisions left after that game. I can just see the seething on all of their faces as Daniel Jones faces Saquon Barkley in the NFC Championship game, and they sit there looking for starting the draft process, thinking, probably still unable to ask the question. Maybe it was us.
But I think
Maybe it was us.
this is the problem: is the fact that it is that if he was to go, I mean, it's so difficult to say that because he's then left. Like someone like Saquon Barkley, he was brilliant at the Giants, and he's gone and he's become even better at the Eagles. Like you can't deny he was a great player beforehand. The problem
Oh
is
no.
that the thing with Daniel Jones is he was an average quarterback doing better than probably people expected him to do when they went. Was it 2, 3 seasons ago they ended up in the playoffs?
It's in his first couple of years, wasn't it? It was
Two
in his
Yeah.
first couple of years.
I think we know two
So
seasons.
yeah, so he obviously had a great start. He then got paid a significant amount of money, spent a good time on IR because of the various injuries that he picked up. It just seems like they've made a snap decision based
Yeah.
upon the here and now rather than the long term view of it. Like they've just thought, we need to save some money here. We're not going to get anything from him. Or if we do, we're going to lose a shit ton of money because our O-line's not good enough. He's going to go down injured and we're fucked. What they actually should have done was when they sat back last year or the year before and talked about paying him, they should have thought about the long term then. They should have thought, well, is this the guy that we want to be our franchise quarterback for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Or do we think, well, we don't actually know, so really should we be paying him and can we risk losing him now? Then, essentially what you've done is you've paid him for an extra year to get rid of him anyway.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense as a situation. And yes, you can make the argument that they're trying to save money because of the fact that they don't want him to get injured. Well, you shouldn't have paid him that in the first place. You shouldn't agree to pay him that in the first place.
Should have paid
Like,
Saquon Barkley instead of him.
yeah, like if you have the two players, if you want to keep one of them, keep Saquon Barkley. Pay
But
him the money because he was of the two, he's the better player.
The only reason why I think they deferred away from paying Saquon is because of his injury history. But that really isn't Barkley's fault because if it was his injury history, we would have seen him be injured in Philadelphia. But
but
that's not the case.
but I think my point more that I was kind of making was it's you've let it go out of the door and it's flourished elsewhere. And I'm not going to say Daniel Jones if in that hypothetical situation. Obviously, it's hypothetical. The Lions are making the Super Bowl end of story. That's how you know it's hypothetical. But in that hypothetical, I'm not even necessarily saying that Daniel Jones lights it up. I'm saying they could lean on Aaron Jones and do 5 yard slants to Justin Jefferson, who then gets 40 yards after catch. I'm talking that kind of thing could happen. He runs a serviceable offense run by KOC and their offensive play.
But then
I
that's
just
that's
think
what you should be doing anyway if you've got a quarterback that you're not confident in. Make it as
no,
easy as possible for them. And I don't think that that's what the Giants have tried to do. I mean, you saw at the first start of the season where he was having great link ups with the likes of Malik Neighbors and Wandale Robinson was like his go to guy. He was when we talked at the start of the season about would Wandale Robinson be a regular flex player in fantasy, and that was my take was I thought he was going to be a regular flex player. Turns out he is. He's scoring an average around 10 points a game because he's getting the targets. But then they stopped doing that, and then they struggled with running backs. But then you had Tracy. Was it Tracy came in and has been brilliant? Like they just seem every time they seem to learn something, they take two steps back on what they're actually doing and move away from what they should be doing. And that's the problem that they have. That's not a Daniel Jones problem.
no, no,
That's a setup problem. And I think that's why I think Daniel Jones would do well in somewhere like San Fran because they have a head coach who knows what he's doing, who has a system, and he puts players into that system. He doesn't work the system around the players; he works the players into the system,
yeah.
and that's how I think he would do well there. And that's the problem is that it's not a Daniel Jones problem; it's a Giants problem.
No, absolutely, and this is what I'm again kind of where I'm getting to in the hypothetical is just
Mm.
it's at what point do they take that inward self-reflection rather than saying, oh no, we'll just let them out the door. We'll just let them out the door. We'll just let them having some sort of inward self-reflection to go, well, clearly what we're doing is not where our evaluation of talent here or our evaluation on how to deal with this talent is not where it should be clearly. Um, but
That's where firing comes into the play.
well, yeah. But this is I don't want to turn this into as fun as it is. I don't want to turn this necessarily into just a let's bash New York altogether because this is that could be a 17-hour podcast and I could monologue it all for you. And I'm sure Karl could, and I'm sure you could probably as
Yeah.
well, Sam. What's more important though? And I just want to say that I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for the guys over on the review show. I'm thankful for the guys at the college. I'm thankful for a lot of things. I'm thankful for football. And there's no better time to be thankful than Thanksgiving. It's thanks it as of release, it is Thanksgiving Day. There is so much football this weekend. So much football this weekend. If you watch college football as well, so much football this weekend. Full slate of NFL games, and it is hate week. But we're here to talk about the NFL. We're not here to talk about hate week in college football. We're here to talk about the NFL.
Check out
Now,
our college pod for that.
exactly, which will be, I promise you, I'm sure between Egg and I, this is going to be electric, given the type of week it is. I'm sure it's going to be electric anyway. But anyway, quick bit of trivia to start us off. Can you tell us the year, the first year an NFL Thanksgiving Day game got played?
1946.
Nope. Before the war, World War Two.
I mean, we're talking about the 1800s here, aren't we?
How long do you think World War Two lasted, Carl? Before World War Two.
Well, to be fair, the 1800s is before World War Two.
Well, do you know? Right,
It
you've
was
got
also
me there.
before World
Fair
War
enough.
One. Well done,
Fair
we've
enough.
understood math. Well
Fair
done.
enough. You've got me there.
So we're talking 20th century before the war, before the Second World War.
Yes. Yes.
1918.
After that. I mean, to bear in mind that the NFL itself did not exist until 1922.
1923.
No, it was. We'll save us some time.
92.
1934.
Okay. So
19,
yeah.
1934. Like the tradition of Thanksgiving Day football extends in essence all the way back to the 1860s, where in 1869, only a couple of years after Abraham Lincoln himself declared Thanksgiving as a holiday, Princeton and Rutgers played on Thanksgiving. Little bit of college football history for you there. A few years later, Princeton and Yale played on Thanksgiving every year until the NCAA, or what the name it went under at the time, I cannot remember. I did have this actually before because history is what I do now, apparently, just badly. They decided that they wanted a championship game on Thanksgiving Thursday. And that continued all the way until I believe the 1890s, and then it kind of took a bit of a knock, and then some games got played on, some games didn't. But the actual tradition of Thanksgiving Day football in the NFL started in 1934. Now, can you tell me the two teams that played on Thanksgiving Day in 1934? There's a reason there are traditions in the NFL to this day on Thanksgiving Day.
Detroit and Dallas.
Detroit, well done. Detroit is one of them, but it wasn't Dallas who played them. We have a rematch of it tomorrow.
Bears.
Detroit, the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. Only about a year or two before the Detroit Lions, in fact, no, I think it was 34 that the Plymouth Spartans moved to Detroit, renamed themselves to the Detroit Lions, and that first year, the owner of the Lions at the time, George A. Richards, yes, I have done this amount of research. Come on. So essentially invented the tradition because he thought it was going to be a really good way of bringing fans into the game because he's in a brand new city, in a brand new place. So like, it's a good way to connect with fans, bring them in on Thanksgiving for football. And that is a tradition that goes to this day. And you had a very good point there, Carl. Who else also plays every year at home on Thanksgiving?
Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. They joined in the 1960s.
Where's
First
where's
play.
the hat? Where's the hat, Karl? I was expecting the hat then.
I think I burnt it.
Um, I was surprised that it didn't actually burn through singes of like when you didn't pull the curtains down one day or didn't draw the curtains and then sun singed it. I would have thought that would have been the problem with that hat. But yeah, so the Dallas Cowboys joined in 1966 and tried to very similar. They thought, oh, we're gonna make a lot of money off this. We'll bring a lot of people in and tried to cement. This is when they started to cement themselves as the self-proclaimed, and I will remind people of this all the time, self-proclaimed America's team.
and
But they
yet we
didn't win that
get
title.
and yet we get a really very and get it's been the Lions and the Bears, okay, since Thanksgiving games started off at, and that's fine. But you know, we've had for decades we've had that fixture, and it's not been an easy watch, shall we say, with the Detroit
No,
and Chicago. Over the last couple of years, it's got a bit more exciting because Detroit have actually got better. Chicago think they're getting better. But when we always have to have Dallas on as the late afternoon game, it's just like, oh great, you have to put America's team on, that sort of thing. I mean, we've
well,
been punched in the face for this one for tomorrow night. We have to watch Cooper Cup go up against Tommy DeVito and the New
Cooper
York
Cup.
Cooper Cup.
Giants.
Cooper
Cooper
Cup.
Cup.
Sorry,
Did we
Cooper Rush.
did we
Sorry,
trade him to
sorry.
the Cowboys this
No,
week?
I'm
sorry,
just playing
Cooper Rush.
quarterback now.
Cooper Rush. Sorry, my apologies.
In all
Cooper
fairness,
Rush.
he'd probably do a better job than Cooper Rush
He
at
probably would
quarterback.
have. He does. I think I have seen him throw a ball. He does throw quite a nice spiral, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cooper Rush taking on Tommy DeVito. Might as well play fucking Danny DeVito at this rate, but that's besides the point.
At this rate, Tommy DeVito's out. It's now Cooper Rush
Yeah,
versus
against
Drew
Drew
Lock.
Lock.
Oh Jesus, I don't know what's.
But our resident American gave us some very good insight into Thanksgiving, right? So a little nugget of information that I think we can all take with us. Now, in America, they celebrate Thanksgiving Day football. Well, the family's round. You eat normally during the early game, and around that time you eat, and you eat lots and lots and lots of food. Think of it then like after Christmas dinner. What's the one thing you want to do? Because look, by 9 a.m. on Christmas Day, you've already had 7 beers, right? You've opened all your presents, you've had your Christmas dinner, you've had 16 more beers. It's what's that one from Stone Cold Steve? And then another beer. And then another beer. It's just Christmas Day, is how it tends to go. And then you get to about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. All you want to do is just sleep. You're in a food coma. You're kind of in also a bit of a beer coma. That on Thanksgiving Day is when the middle of the day game two comes on, and everyone's just sat there fast asleep.
That's what you.
And
That's
so
that's what I've also read through as well. You just basically after eating all that food and drinking all that beer and so on, all you want to do then is just
pass
sit on the
out.
sofa, unbutton your trousers, fart on the sofa and fall asleep. That's
Exactly.
basically
What a better game to do than to watch the
the
Cowboys?
Cowboys.
So
You want to fall asleep?
for America's team, do America's tradition, fall asleep and don't watch it like proper Thanksgiving. You don't have to see it. You can see it with your eyes closed. You'll be fine. Um, which is a grateful piece of information that Chapman gave us this week. But I just kind of want to have a chat with you about Thanksgiving Day football. Like, it's not the Lions Bears every year, but the Lions Bears started it. The Lions brought it as a home game. They did it every year. That's why the Detroit Lions play at home every year on Thanksgiving. It's a tradition, and the NFL won't take them off them. So take it off them. No one's bothered anymore. A couple of years ago, everyone was desperate to take it off the Lions. Now everyone's desperate to take it off the Cowboys, who also have the tradition. Do you guys? 'Cause I love that football starts on Thursday at 5 o'clock, and then you get it until normal Thursday night football time. Lots of Do you guys do anything? Do you guys do anything special for Thanksgiving Day football?
No, not for me. It's just another Thursday for me.
It's
What
hard
would
to do.
what
It's
would
hard to. It's hard to do it in the United Kingdom because obviously the games start off a lot. Like the games start off a lot late. We get in from work between 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's like it's pandemonium to actually sit down, have some dinner and that. I mean, if you can arrange to do a Thanksgiving with, as I said, friends or family. I mean, my fantasy league, we try to speak about doing a Thanksgiving like doing a Thanksgiving like afternoon, nighttime, so on and so. But it's just too much hard work. And the last time one of my friends cooked a turkey, well, we didn't quite cook it long enough. Put it that way. So that's probably why we canned it.
Yes.
Um, I think if you can. I have made a homemade mac and cheese before. I have made a couple of homemade mac and cheese before, which I think that's the closest thing I could probably get to Thanksgiving. But the rest of the time, it will just be like snack party food, that sort of thing. I can hear American viewers literally screaming down my ears right now. What the hell is party food?
Right.
Like,
So this
I
is an
don't know if
important
someone wants to
question.
elaborate on that.
But this is an important question because I genuinely like, depending on where you are in the country, depending on how you grew up, depending on all these party snack food is going to mean something very different to everyone. And I think this is more important than the football conversation. This is a
Very
real
true.
window into our lives here. What would you consider to be party snack food?
Mozzarella
Very true.
sticks, party, salt and pepper, prawns, vol au
Yeah,
vents.
that's pasta. That.
You get it
No,
from
that's
M&S.
that's the sort of thing you find at a wedding buffet. It's just a table and a shitload of mirrors. That's
Again, what weddings are
basically.
you going to?
It's
Have
all-
butty,
Yeah,
maybe a cheese butty, and if you're
sausage
really
rolls.
lucky, a tuna butty. And then
Sausage rolls.
Sausage rolls.
This is how
Yeah.
bad British cuisine is, though, for parties. I remember going to family parties, and there was always that plate of stone cold, unseasoned chicken legs
Yeah.
and
Oh
chicken
yeah.
drumsticks. It's disgusting.
But it was always great. You'd still eat it.
At the time when I was seven, and my palate had not been introduced to the variety of foods that I was introduced to by the time I was say 11 or 12, where I lived in one of the more multicultural areas of Manchester, and I was exposed to Caribbean food and African food and South Asian food. Those seasonless, freezing cold chicken drumsticks were a delight. Always a
You was gonna
quiche,
say delicacy then.
a delicacy, and always a quiche as well. Someone always
Always
brings
a
a quiche.
quiche.
There was
Yeah.
always at least a quiche. It was always like a
A
Lorraine quiche.
a
There's the
ham
most
and cheese quiche.
the
Yeah.
basics of basic quiches.
You always had cold garlic bread that was the stick version.
Yes.
Always. You had a hedgehog that had
Cheese,
chicken, the
cheese
cheese
stick, the
hedgehog.
cheese on it.
Yeah.
Pineapple.
With pineapple. Yeah. Cocktail sausages, little sausage rolls, stone cold pizza
Hmm.
Yes.
that was in
Yes.
really small square triangles,
And
really small triangles.
always just the toughest base. One
Yeah.
of those where if you were feeling really naughty as an 8-year-old, if you kind of flicked, if you as if you were going to skim a rock, you could
Yeah.
take someone out with it.
Yeah.
That kind of
And then you would have a Colin the Caterpillar at the very end.
yes.
Always a Colin the Caterpillar.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Do we need to be
That
careful
is a
about
British
branding?
90s food.
Yeah.
Mm,
Do we need to be careful about branding here?
yes.
No, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. A Colin, a Kevin, whatever we thought.
Cuthbert, whatever the bloody hell they
Cuthbert,
call that.
Cuthbert,
Cuthbert.
yeah, Cuthbert, yeah. Well, to be
all of
fair,
the caterpillars.
yeah, a basically just a I don't know what it is. It's like a chocolate log with chocolate melted over the top of it in the shape of a caterpillar. That's
Yeah.
basically all it is.
I'll post if you aren't already, just do it. But come and follow us on the social medias. We will put a picture up of it on the social media tomorrow, and you can see if you are from the States and you are unsure what a Colin the caterpillar is, you'll see it.
We probably lost all our American viewers
Oh
due
yeah,
to, due
100%. I
to the
don't know why I said
disgusting
that.
90s food we've just disgusted. And we're talking Thanksgiving here, so
No, but I think they're really sat there going, so we were right. British food is flavorless, cold, with yeah, but that was party food. Like, that was if you went to a gathering of
Yeah,
people. That was for your nan's 70th at the local function club.
if you're getting
yeah.
if you're getting a party food at my place, I do a I do a fresh chili and I also do a fresh pulled pork as well. And trust me, you're
Oh,
gonna eat it. You're gonna eat it because it's fucking lovely. Pardon my language.
that's not that. You'll threaten me with a good time. Don't threaten me with a good time here with
I'll
pulled
bring the
pork.
slow cooker. Don't worry.
No,
Well, we've already.
you're
That's
gonna
another
eat.
thing
You're
that
gonna eat
we
it.
can
Yes,
do
I
on
am.
our. Well, you'll just have to do that when we have our Heard on the Line away day,
Yes. Yeah. Mrs.
whenever that
Fletch
happens.
is no longer on cooking
Now I'm
duty
under
that weekend.
pressure.
Mrs. Fletch, like the one thing, and I'm gonna go back to this, is like we've tried a couple of times to do some sort of Thanksgiving stuff, but as you've said, look, explaining to your work that on a Thursday in November that you want to leave early because you want to go set up for Thanksgiving when you are British and have lived in Britain all of your life, you have no family members that are in the States, or your partner's not from the States. It's not going down well. So don't tend to. So I'm cooking tomorrow. I'm gonna make. I'm not a big mac and cheese fan, but we found a recipe a couple of years ago of this Korean mac and cheese. So you put gochujang in it. Really nice. So I'll kind of have some sort of mac and cheesy thing going on. But Mrs. Fletcher's a very hospitable person and likes to make those kind of things. So we just do it for the Super Bowl instead.
A little bit of Cajun spice goes nicely with mac and cheese, just as a little tip.
But what I was saying was that at the away day when we get to it, Mrs. Fletcher was like, I can go, I'll make food because Mrs. Fletcher is very hospitable in that sense. She likes to cook, she likes to feed people. It's the way she knows how to express herself is normally through food. And well, you've just taken that offer, Carl. Thanks.
They can work together.
Fine now, thanks.
I was a former chef till I then worked in warehouses at the age of 23 onwards, but that's besides the point.
I would quite like. It's something that I have always been intrigued by is Thanksgiving. I mean, obviously growing up in the UK, we sort of, I suppose, our exposure to things like Thanksgiving has always been through films and TV shows. I mean, for me
Yeah,
watching Friends, the Thanksgiving episode where they watch the Green Bay Mermen against the Detroit Lions is always a memorable moment for me. But yeah, I always think that it's always an interesting concept because it's not something that we have in the UK, and
no.
to have such a tradition, it is like that's like our Christmas Day, but it's a month before Christmas, and then they have their Christmas Day. So yeah,
But
maybe it's something that, and obviously I know that it's the fact that it's steeped within their history as to why they have Thanksgiving, but especially maybe the NFL fan base over here maybe could do something to go
yeah,
alongside that.
some of my favorite early memories of at the like 2014, 2015, I didn't have Game Pass. I wasn't forking out for that when I was so new to the sport. My family did have Sky Sports, so I would watch the NFL on Sky Sports. And Kevin Cadle and Neil Reynolds eating the turkey together and all that sort of stuff. That was always really nice to kind of they kind of played they made a turkey. I don't know how much they actually had of it, but they always had that going on, which was really nice to see. As we kind of look, this has been a great conversation. Virtually none of it over the last 10 minutes has been about football, which I'm not complaining with. To bring it back to football a little bit though, have you got any Thanksgiving Day football memories that you have over the years? Um, I'm thinking, okay, like these aren't my memories, but like Randy Moss, rookie year, Vikings game, he exploded. Um, I'm trying to think back to a couple. It's been a depressing kind of day for me as a life. I try to block out as many of these Thanksgiving days as possible at the moment. So
I remember there being was it one of the time when the Eagles played on Thanksgiving, and may not have been the Eagles, maybe someone else. I remember seeing a at the end of the game, and I think they do it with quite a few players now in various teams, where they get them to have turkey at the very end of the game. The teams that win actually give them a plate of like giant turkey
yeah,
legs, and you see obviously some of them eat them and some of them don't. But I always find that fun, just as a little bit of a post game snack
yeah,
before going off for their meals and stuff. But
it is a
that's
bit of fun.
it's not something that I've like I say because most of the time it's on a Thursday. Well, it's on a Thursday every year. It's always in recent years for me especially. It's always coincided with Arsenal playing on a Thursday night. So I've kind
Oh,
of
joys.
I've chosen to unfortunately watch them. So I tend to, I've not had chance to, this will be sort of my first proper year watching Thanksgiving games. So yeah, for me, this will be, I suppose there's a memory. This is my first proper one to watch the actual games on the Thursday rather
It's a
than,
year of firsts for you, isn't it? So your first round draft pick, your first Thanksgiving Day games. It's a
yeah.
year of what a year we're sharing with you, Sam.
Yes.
I've
Unfortunately, it's not a good season overall, but
I've been watching Thanksgiving games for the good part of the last 7 or 8 years. Now, and I always look forward to them, even though you know that it's going to be Detroit, Chicago, the first game. And at the time when neither team was any good, it kind of like, okay, well, this is what we got to start with, but it'll turn it around at some point. Um, I always go back to when TV, especially here in the United Kingdom, was actually worth watching, and you start seeing analysts who actually know what the bloody hell that they're actually talking about, considering what you see right now. is back when Neil Reynolds was just an assistant, was just just as a just on the panel on the host.
Yeah.
The great I've forgotten what his surname is now, but can someone say this for
Kevin
me?
Cadle.
Thank you, Kevin Cadle, who was the host of that, was so good. And when they did the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving shows, he was absolutely funny as hell. Um, really was. If there's one person that I never really got to, or two people rather, I would have liked to have seen through Thanksgiving was Kevin Cadle, absolute legend, and the other one I never got the chance to see. I've seen video clips and highlights of him. No, it's none other than John Madden.
Yeah.
John Madden in Thanksgiving was just it was just fantastic. Really great fun.
Yeah.
And I think, but the tradition is always still going to be there in America. It always will always be there. It's three things: it's family, food, and football. That's basically what Thanksgiving is all about, really. And we over the United Kingdom, we've tried to embrace it or adapt to it in some sort of way. Sometimes you can pull it off, and sometimes it's just maybe it's not quite for us. But listen,
Black Friday.
yeah, Black Friday when everyone beats the shit out of each other in Argos trying to get the latest
Just for a TV.
toy just for TV or something. No, that's actually
400,
in Target.
450
That's actually
TV.
or that's in Target in the United States. That's no longer become a fight. That becomes Survivor Series War Games mode. There's everyone knocking the shit out of each other away.
I'm sure. I'm
There's
sure.
people choke slamming them into the cereal for crying out
I'm
loud.
sure every Argos has Bear Grylls in it at some point, going doing some sort of survival series on Black Friday. But that's a tradition because similar to over here, we have in the States they don't have Boxing Day, but we have Boxing Day and the Boxing Day sales. They have Thanksgiving and then the Black Friday sales. And that's just it's just one of those kind of traditions as well. But the Black Friday side of it has made its way over to here. So
They do a
No
TV
longer
show.
just
They do a TV show in America called Survivor. Don't they? In some way, what they should do is do a Black Friday version of Survivor. Just stick them all in a supermarket. Just watch them
super,
hunt each other down.
supermarket sweep meat survivor.
I would say meet the Expendables. Really.
um
Genuine question though,
yeah,
and this is maybe something you might know, or it might be something that we maybe pose to any of our American listeners out here. Is Thanksgiving seen as a national holiday over there? Like, do most is it
I believe it is.
a shop?
Yeah,
Most shops close and things. A bit like how we have like Easter Sunday and things like that. Is that their version of like I suppose something like an Easter
I
Sunday?
believe so.
we
Because I
should
think
really, we should
they
have really
even
have had
get.
a chat. Go on, sorry, Fletch.
I'm gonna say they even get the Friday. Again, that's one of the big things about Black Friday is everybody's off. It tends, from speaking to friends in the States, like Thursday I normally watch the Lions game. I normally watch Lions games all year with friends over in the States. Tomorrow's probably not gonna happen because they're gonna be sat with the families. That's fine. Um, but they always have the Friday. They'll have the Friday. Most people will have the Friday off as well, apart from those poor retail workers.
Mm.
We're thinking of you all. If you do work in retail tomorrow, well, tomorrow, we're thinking of you. We really are.
But yeah,
Um,
generally it's seen as a national holiday for most. Then,
yeah,
so yeah, it's like I suppose it's like Christmas Eve for us. Like for most people, it's not. There's not a lot open, but apart from retail.
I mean, yeah, probably, and you probably looking a bit more like Christmas Day.
Mm.
Place I live in Manchester, places are open on Christmas Day because right next to me are a lot of people who don't celebrate Christmas, so shops are open. You can always go get some milk, which is a good thing on Christmas Day, just in case.
Yeah,
You've always got that option.
nothing's ever open in Darlington and in Christmas Day. So
No, um, but and then you've got, like I say, the next day is a bit more like Boxing Day, where you go. I think you just go out, spend your money that you've got from people. Um, with that in mind, though, and as we move on from the Thanksgiving talk, you brought him up, Carl. My last little bit of trivia. What was John Madden's famous tradition every Thanksgiving? What did he get? Can you remember?
It was always a turkey leg, wasn't it?
Not a turkey leg.
Oh,
It was part. Turkey leg was part of it.
mm-hmm.
Had a special name.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Turducken?
The turducken. The
Ah,
turducken. The
okay.
turkey stuffed with duck, stuffed
Stuffed with a
with
chicken.
chicken. The turducken. And one of my I watched
That's
him.
that trivia question right. Get in.
Exactly. You weren't the one who brought John Madden up either, and I'm
No.
impressed with that. So between you both got that one.
If
Um.
anyone doesn't bring up John Madden over Thanksgiving, deserve to be
No.
shot.
Well. Um. But no. It was always I watched a compilation video before of just John Madden year by year by year explaining the turducken and opening it up and showing everyone what was in it. It's a lovely
Like,
video.
it's like he's trying to design. It's like he's trying to call it like it's some kind of play design.
Yeah. Um. But again, we're gonna try and speed this up a little bit, but we do have a couple more things to get through. And number one thing we need to get through is our wonderful, wonderful sponsors of Fantasy Game Day, who have so generously and kindly sponsored this podcast. Fantasy Game Day is the first and only NFL daily fantasy app by UK fans for UK fans. If you are missing, was it FanDuel or DraftKings that left the UK not long ago?
DraftKings.
DraftKings, and they were one of the best ones for it.
Yeah.
If you are missing that and you are looking for that replacement, NFL Fantasy Game Day has you covered. Head down to the link in our bio. Karl, you normally tell everyone where it is. Yeah, right there. There we go. Um, Head down to the link in our bio. Click on the link. You can download the app onto your mobile device, whether it be Apple or Android. When you sign up for an account, go through all your details, and at the bottom it asks you to put in a promo code. If you put in the promo code HRDLE, that's hurdle without the U, although there is no hurdle without you. Thanks, Chapman, for that one.
It was
You
me.
can.
It
Was it
was
you?
Sam.
It was me. I made the
I
calling
thought.
line.
When
I
did
thought it was
Chapman
Chapman.
get take any
I'm
gratification
pretty
for
sure
that?
Chapman brought it up first.
I said it last week. I made a whole thing about it, and then you said I was really cringe for saying it.
It was
I
quite.
apologize.
It
I
was quite
apologize.
bad what you said there, but I.
I apologize. I apologize. I am sorry. I return all credit to Sam for that. The Now I've lost my place. There we go. There is no hurdle without you. Thanks, Sam, for that one. HRDLE, when you deposit and play, you get a free play worth £7.50 for free because we sent you. And that's just very generous of them. I think that's very generous of them. And you can win a bit of money while you're at it too. 18 plus only. Gamble responsibly. Of course. With that in mind, what we're going to do is I have a couple of little fantasy experts with me today. Um, Nope, just Karl and Sam. Sorry, got confused. Uh, who have you got any picks? What are you looking at this weekend for your fantasy game day lineup?
So, two players I'm looking at for this coming week. Obviously, last week I told you lot to go for Bo Nix. He performed pretty well, but not quite as well as I thought he might have done. But Bucky Irving had a very, very, very good game. He seems to be the leading back now for the Buccaneers. So, but his price, his stock is going to go up now. So, if you caught him last week, well done. The two I've got in my mind, one of them is quite expensive. The other one I didn't think would be that. I didn't think he would be this cheap. So, on my docket for 6,400 points at running back, take Chuba Hubbard. He's been a true workhorse and stud this season. 8 touchdowns, 21.8 opportunities per game, 5 yards per carry, 76% of snaps. Jonathan Brooks, who the Panthers got in the draft last year, was a non-factor in his debut. And the one thing I'll say this as well, Tampa Bay is a top 5 matchup for running backs, which means they give up fifth most 2 points to the running back. So get Chuba Hubbard in your lineup, beg your pardon. And the other one I'm going to go for, I've been raving about this kid for a while, Lad McConkey off the LA Chargers. They take on the Atlanta Falcons. They give up the sixth most Receiving yards, sixth most yards to receivers. Lad has really come on over the last 5 weeks, as great rookies typically do. 60.1 points per game, which basically he is wide receiver 13, 22% share target, 13.2 average depth per target. He's the guy that Justin Herbert now trusts when they need to convert a key third down. He's probably going to need to trust him a lot more because Quinton Johnston couldn't catch coronavirus if he tried. So there's your option to go after Lad McConkey. And there's some stats I'm going to show you here. Where McConkey ranks among all rookie receivers. Receiving yards, first. Receiving first downs, second. Yards per route run, second. Explosive plays, first. EPA per target, second. EPA all targets, first. Receiving touchdowns, tied third. He is a certified gem, and you could get him on your team for 5,200 points. So those are my two players that you should go after. Go after Hubbard and go after McConkey. Sam, over to you.
So for me, if I remember rightly when I was looking at this, let me look at the right players for a start. I had a quarterback choice, and I was shocked at how cheap he was based upon who they're going to be playing. And I think this is mainly down to the fact that they are playing these, and it's likely that they'll probably do a bit more running than throwing. But I would probably go for CJ Stroud at 4,800. Now, from what I can see on here and what they've got on here, the OPRK for this game have Jacksonville have Houston at quarterback as the 32nd, well, essentially 32, which means that the Jacksonville Jaguars are the worst team to face the best team for a quarterback to face. And at that price, 4,800, when you're looking at probably other players, maybe like a Justin Herbert, 5,800, Baker Mayfield, 6,400, your Joe Burrows, Hurts, and Jackson, they're all in the 7,000. I think if you're looking at wanting to bring in someone like a Mixon or a Derrick Henry, who are a lot more pricey as a running back, I think going for a cheaper quarterback works. I also think that Stroud still has a great arm in him. He still has great wide receivers, especially in Collins. I just think that this could be a safe pick because he'll still score good points. Yes, they'll probably have a lot more running in the running game with Mixon, but he'll still score you big points, I think, this week. The other player which I would go for is probably someone who you would not think to look at. Remember rightly, he's a running back. And I have a feel if I get this right. And this is purely down to the fact that it looks like J.K. Dobbins is not going to play this week, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't altered his price yet. I would go for Gus Edwards. Now, I know that the Atlanta Falcons defense does deal with running backs relatively well, but at 2,400, he'd be a great flex position. He's going to be the starting running back for the Chargers. And if the Chargers get ahead of steam, Gus the Bus will do his thing. So those would be my two picks, just based upon value alone. If you're looking for someone who is going to be cheap, who's going to pick up good points, where you want to then have higher value players in, those are the two I would go for.
Okay. There we are. I was a bit worried now. I was worried, but especially I like to go last because I normally do the least amount of research, so I can just kind of, I'll just kind of research while you
Just a
guys
quick
talk.
one, Sam. I will have to throw shade at you for this. You cannot call Gus Edwards the bus.
That's
You
what he's
could,
called, Gus the Bus.
yes, no, but the original one called the bus was Jerome Bettis.
Well, that's fine, but he's the Gus the Bus is the thing now.
What? Because he's got what? Because Gus and Bus match. That makes him the
That
bus.
is the exact reason. Yeah, that is the
Yeah,
exact reason.
yeah, no, no. Jerome Bettis was named
That's from.
no. Jerome Bettis was named the bus due to his large size and forceful running style.
Oh, he's just called Gus the Bus because it rhymes, and that's
That's
from
but yeah,
Ravens fans.
yeah. My toddler could have worked that out, but that's besides.
Wait till you find out Lad McConkey's nickname in that wide receiver room.
Hey, 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 hey,
Uh,
hey, hey, hey. But don't want your life story. Come on.
But I was quite glad that no, I've actually done research this. I've looked into it today. I've done my bit, and I'm glad no one's taken mine. So what I was looking at was these. Now this is your more expensive option at running back, but the Chicago Bears are 22nd in EPA versus the run. They are 30th in DVOA against the run. Now David Montgomery went out on Sunday with an injury. Kind of hope that it's a little bit more precautionary because they're on a short week and whatnot. They didn't bring him back. Hope he plays on Thursday. But I think even if he does, he'll probably maybe on a snap count. Now, Jameer Gibbs is 7,000. It's an expensive option. I get it. But he could very much feast on a Bears defense that had to play in it almost a full extra quarter on Sunday with a short week that are already really, really bad against the run. And Jameer Gibbs is on fire at the moment. Already got 11 touchdowns on the season, put up, I think it was 120 plus yards at the weekend. Jameer Gibbs is very much in the position to feast. Sonic and Knuckles, you can never go wrong with either of them, but especially this week. But I would maybe be hesitant on Knuckles. Then you might need a cheap option at quarterback, for example. And my little one here is at 5,000. I think Russell Wilson could be a little bit of a sleeper. That as long as he can avoid getting hit by Trey Hendrickson, which is difficult, I get it. That's Trey Hendrickson is now after a previous injury this season the sack leader on the season. If you can avoid Trey Hendrickson, that Bengals defense is terrible. The rest of that Bengals defense is not very good. He has some targets he likes. It could be a game that goes up in the air. I'd expect 5,000 Russell Wilson to be a good option if you need a cheap quarterback to get you some points. And I also think after the way the Falcons were at the weekend, Justin Herbert at 5,800 might not be the worst option on the planet. Yes, that offense is a little bit not great, but if, as Karl said here, if he and you guys like, if he's finding a relationship with McConkey, the person, Justin Herbert could very much see a good return on 5,800. Couple of people I would avoid though, and I looked at a couple that I would avoid. I would obviously avoid Caleb Williams and Cole Kmet just because the way the Lions defense has performed, that's where they performed best. On a short week, again, after playing an extra quarter, I wouldn't put too much stock in them. Mark Andrews is a big one that I would avoid this week because that Philadelphia Eagles defense is very, very, very good on tight ends. They don't give up points to tight ends very often. They don't give up a lot of yardage, so I would avoid someone like you, Mark Andrews, is at tight ends. And just I know feels like a pretty common one at the moment. I'd avoid Deebo Samuel against the Bills this week. I really would. I wouldn't trust that matchup.
I would just avoid Debo Samuel altogether, to be honest.
Um, well, yeah, to be fair, yeah, just given his lack of consistency, for lack of a better term, I would avoid. Yeah, I would also just generally avoid Deebo Samuel. Um, with that in mind, gents, I think we're going to have to probably not get a proper pick'ems out this week, which is a bit gutting. But everyone's used to it by now. Not getting a pick'ems each week. It's fine. It happens. Um, but are there any particular games that you are really looking forward to this weekend?
Just have a quick look at the games again.
I
Um,
I think the late night Thanksgiving game tonight will be tomorrow night will be very, very interesting, and that's the Miami Dolphins at the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
This is
Packers
going
are
to
at home and the Dolphins do very bad in cold weather games.
So I checked the temperatures I went on the weather forecast, checked the temperatures, and obviously it's going to come up in British form, not in American form, because they use Fahrenheit as their degrees, whereas we use degrees in its actual term. Um, And the mildest it's going to be, because I can't say warm because this temperature is not warm at all, is -1, and the coldest is -5. If anybody wants to know the Fahrenheit of -1, it's below 40 degrees, and the dolphins below 40 degrees are absolute ass. This is going to be the game for Miami that they have got to win. They have got to win this game. We're going to need to see this team play in cold weather. Because guess what? Buffalo are going to win their division in the AFC East. The Dolphins are going to be a road team. And if they have to play cold teams like Buffalo or Kansas City, they're going to find it very, very, very tough to compete. So that for me is going to be an interesting one. And Josh Jacobs, what a game he had last week. 3 touchdowns, absolutely bulldozed everyone in his path. We'll see if he could do that on this Miami defense as well. So and yeah, Christian Watson, he needs to start catching these balls from Jordan Love.
Well, he's going to have to because latest news out of Ian Rappaport is Romeo Dobbs is out of the game, and so is Jair Alexander. Both will not feature against the Dolphins through injury. So,
That's a huge loss.
you know, Watson's going to have to step up. To be honest, I think of all the players that's probably going to end up doing better out of that game is probably going to be Tucker Kraft. He seems to be playing well, taking a lot of end zone catches. So I'd be looking at him. He's maybe another one to look out for in the if you've got the on fantasy app if you want an earlier the earlier slate games.
Yeah.
I think he's only valued at like 3,200 or something ridiculous. So
Yeah.
And he likes to truck safeties as well. He
yeah.
actually likes to track his own lineman actually as well. So yeah, Tucker Craft, a really, really good tight end to go after there.
Sam,
He's actually ranked in the top
3,400.
five. He's actually ranked in the top five in tight
Mm,
ends in fantasy. And the fact he's that cheap, that is quite surprising. So
yeah,
yeah. But anyway,
3,400.
just how horribly hit by the injury bug are the Rams still? Is it not as bad as it? I haven't properly kept an
O
eye on it.
line's O line's not particularly good. We've still got a couple out on O line. But generally speaking, we're a lot better than what we were. A lot better. But
So three,
our defense is wank.
so 3 weeks ago, I would have been totally right, and this would have been the hospital bowl
Yeah, it
between
would have
yourselves and
been,
the
but
the
Saints.
we're
injury bowl.
the injury bowl. Yeah, but we've recovered a lot of ours. At least the main injuries. I mean, we've still got Tyler Higby's still out, and he hasn't played all season. Um, I want to say Rob Havenstein is still out. But we've got Jonah Jackson back, even though he had an absolute woeful game at centre and then he got taken out for the next game. But yeah, generally speaking, we're back to
I,
relative healthiness.
I think just the way a couple of games are going, the couple of teams are going at the moment, then I would have thought that would have been a lot more interesting than it was. But now I look at it and think I'm not saying the Rams will run away with it, but I'm a bit more heavily leaning towards
But
the
I,
Rams.
I honestly think it'll be a great game because the problem that we have, and it's what we've seen against a lot of the teams where, what we saw
Yeah.
against I'm trying to think who we played before. It wasn't the Seahawks? Wasn't the Seahawks? That was a terrible game. It was 2 weeks
Dolphins.
ago. No, Patriots. So Patriots is a good example. We allow teams to throw on us and give up massive chunk plays.
Right.
And quite frankly, the Saints love a good chunk play. They'll just
They
get
do.
Taysom Hill or Mark MVS or probably downfield, things like that. So I could see this being quite a high scoring game, and I
Yeah.
could see it being a big problem. But I think we have enough on offense, and they have enough injuries on defense that we can manage the situation. But this could be another one of those games. It could be that game of right for all the wrong reasons, sort of thing.
Since Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp have returned, Matthew Stafford has been on fire.
He has, but at the same time, we still can't get the running game going, and it's really,
Yeah.
really annoying because we've just struggled with it. But for me, if you look at the stats of our defense, some of the stats are absolutely unbelievable, but also some of them are horrendously bad. And when you actually watch us play, our secondary is it might actually be the worst secondary in the league.
Oh, I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Well, one
Certainly
game.
the worst linebackers in the league by a country mile. Our don't even know how to play linebacker, like the linebacker position
Our
sometimes.
linebackers don't know how to stop the run, so I'm trumping you there.
Well, a game that
Did you
two
watch
weeks.
Saquon Barkley? I think of all the players that can't stop a run, I think it's going to be the Rams.
A lot of teams are struggling to stop Saquon Barkley.
Well,
That's not
yeah.
that's not. I was going to say an achievement. Then it's like the very opposite of an achievement. That's not. That's
But
not.
he's never
He's been
scored
taking
three.
more. He's been taking more ankles this season than Kurt Angle did in his entire WWE career.
Um, but a game 3 weeks ago, you would have laughed at me if I'd have said that this was going to be a genuinely good game. Maybe 4 weeks ago. Give me the Bucks and Panthers this week.
That could be an
A
interesting
game
game.
for all the wrong reasons.
No,
I
the
actually think this
Panthers are
could be a
playing
really good
good
game.
football
Yeah,
now.
I think this will be a good game. And I think
Offensively, the Panthers are playing good football. Bryce Young is turning up, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from Bryce Young at the moment. I still think that O line needs to get better. We still needs to get a lot more comfortable behind that O line. I'm still not overly fond of the mechanics he's got, but a lot of that comes with I don't trust my offense, so I always need to stay on my toes. Can't plan. Gotta be on the move. But I like what I'm seeing from that offense. They've started to move. And I say this all the time. There's sometimes they're just a point in a season or a point in an offense where something just clicks. Something starts to make you start doing things the right way. And then all of a sudden you're just doing things the right way and it's working.
he
They,
also had Adam Thielen back last week, and I think that
yeah.
really helped.
And they were very, very they took the Chiefs all the way to the wire. I thought that it could be very much the idea that the Bills awoken, like woke up a beast in the Chiefs or they lit that fire and now the Chiefs were gonna go like a firework and just through the league
and they didn't.
and they didn't. And I don't necessarily think like they look better offensively, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the Chargers did the Chiefs were bad. The Chargers were good. It's not the Chargers, the Panthers were good. They were
Mm.
genuinely good. And so I think and you look at the Bucks and the way they are at the moment this could be a genuinely good game, and I wouldn't put it past the Panthers to win it
I wouldn't either,
and
but
take it.
I would also say for the Bucks as well, they're 1.5 games back behind the Falcons. Obviously, I say the half is because the Falcons have swept them. However, if the Falcons don't get hold of this game and beat the Chargers, this is the Bucks' ultimate chance to say, "Oh, hang on, you ain't running away from this division. You ain't running away with this division." So this for the
Hmm.
Bucks is a must win against the Panthers, and I think it will be a very good close game. One stat I'll give you about the Chiefs: they're 5-6 against the spread. They can't cover for shit. They didn't cover against they didn't cover against the Panthers, and the spread for the Friday game against the Raiders is -12. So
I mean, I mean, to be honest, knowing what I know about the Chiefs every single season, I don't think I'd ever go for them to beat the spread because they're never in a position where they need to beat the spread. They're good enough to just win games for me. So I just think, I you know that they're going to go 11-1. They're going to beat the Raiders, and it's probably not going to be a pretty game.
No.
But in
Um,
terms of my game of the week is the Ravens Eagles game. I think this could be
very
a
much so.
very, very interesting game. It's a game. It's running back versus running back, and running quarterback versus running quarterback. So it could be a very interesting game. This,
No,
and I
do you know what?
think,
I fully agree. On paper, this is by far the most exciting. This could be a
yeah,
very explosive offensive game. Very. And that Eagles defense has drastically improved since the start of the season. They're not. I don't think it's not they were the best defenses in the league, but that is a drastically improved defense that could give Lamar some trouble.
mhm.
I
I
also
think that,
have I've probably got more faith in the Eagles' offense as well, on the precipice that the Ravens' pass defense is still not great, and if they do manage to stop the run of Saquon Barkley, you've still got AJ Brown to contend with, you've still got Devontae Smith to contend with, you've still got Dallas Goedert. to contend as well. You know, they've still got some very, very good weapons.
Yeah.
Eagles
And
have.
Saquon Barkley is very good as a catching back as well.
I think he's,
Which
yeah, not just as a, yeah, yeah. I think
I mean,
him as a
he
pass
has
catcher is. I think him as a pass catcher is actually more devastating because he'll just
yeah,
take your ankles out.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I say, he was it nearly 300 all-purpose yards last week
I
against
don't.
us. It was
Yeah, I think.
just
Yeah.
shy of 300 yards. But I mean, he is just he's just something else. But yeah, I think I believe in terms of fantasy points wise, I believe it's RB1 versus RB2 this week
I believe. Do
in
you
Mm,
know
that
what? I think
game.
you're right.
it will be. Yeah.
So that should be interesting. So if any of you are doing fantasy and you want, that could be a game to watch for you, or a game to look away if you've got them in your teams, because they may not score highly if they know if the other team can prevent them from, doing well.
I think the one thing that does worry me about the Eagles, obviously, Brandon Graham is out for the rest of the season with a torn tricep. That's a huge loss to the Eagles in the middle. So we'll see what Sirianni does to combat to help and combat that. But no, I agree, Sam. I think this is going to be a heck of a game. It could potentially be a dress rehearsal for the Super Bowl, and I said potentially. I didn't say it is. Fletch, don't roll your eyes at me. I said there's a potential of a dress rehearsal. Um, but yeah, this will be. There are some good games on the dock here this week. They really, really are.
It's
I think if you're doing something like one of those last man standings or survivors, if you've got one of those going, I actually think this week there are a lot of games which could go could go either way, or could be easy banana skin games for the
Yeah.
teams you would expect to win. I think, you look through the fixtures, I think you would expect the Lions to win tomorrow. There is
yeah.
still a chance they could lose to the Bears, though. It is a very
Oh
real
no,
possibility.
I'm
But
very
you
much
go
of the
through them.
opinion. Sorry, I'm going to say just I'm very much of the opinion that the Lions haven't won on Thanksgiving since 2016. This is a divisional game. End of story. And you know how I feel about divisional games and how they don't pl
They
how
never
close
play
they
out the
normally
way
t
they should. Yeah.
exactly, and they always tend to be a lot closer. Not all the time, but they tend to be a lot closer. And at the end of the day, one thing the Bears really want to do at the moment, they really want is to do with the Vikings, took the Vikings. And I think Caleb Williams is performing at a very high level at the moment. He
Since they
looks
changed OCs,
drastically better. Yeah, yeah.
since they changed OCs,
I
yeah.
don't think I think this defense matches up well against it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a good matchup in terms of what they're good at, we're good at, what they're bad at, we're good at, kind of thing going on. But they're gonna want to piss on our parade.
Yeah.
They're really going to. It would mean a lot to any divisional rival to piss on your parade, and that's what they're going to be after doing. And
Mhm.
it could get a chippy game, and we're down a couple of players that are key. Um,
Yeah.
so absolutely, I
I think there's a lot of those games where it's like, because like even like the Chiefs Raiders, you would expect the Chiefs to win, but this is a divisional game. The Raiders will want to piss on their parade. They'll want to improve their record.
yeah.
So I mean, and I believe for that game, Aiden O'Connell's due to be back because Gardner Minshew's now out with a broken collarbone. So, but they did say that Aiden O'Connell will due be back in training. I haven't actually checked to see if he is. But again, that could be an interesting game. Texans Jaguars again, another game that could the Jaguars could want to piss on their parade. I mean, the Texans haven't been great recently,
I don't
but
trust Houston
Doug
right now.
yeah,
Doug Peterson is either in one of two mindsets. He's either given up and said, "Well, I've not got a job at the end of the year. If he's still got the job now, he's got it till the end of the season, and like
yeah,
that's just kind of the cut and dry of it." But he's either in, I'm getting sacked at the end of the year. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't care anymore, which is unfortunate because they have some talented players that will not be given the appropriate care for the last quarter of the season that to set them up for the future. Or he's in, I desperately need multiple wins now if I want
mhm,
to be a head coach next year. and he has to win, and he's in not well, desperation mode. So
Mm.
you don't know I don't know which judge you're going to get. You kind of hope it's the second one, and they will turn up and fight.
Mhm. Who
Or
was the
yeah,
bearded guy, head coach for the Texans a couple of years ago?
Oh, Lovey
Before
Smith.
yeah, maybe he'll do a Lovey Smith and basically just piss on his own team's parade by getting them to win games to give up higher picks. Maybe he'll do that.
That is a great
Um,
shit. That is a
but
shithouse move.
but yeah, I mean, even like Steelers Bengals, like Steelers have had a little bit of a slip up. Bengals would love to win that game because they've got their own. I mean, they're not the worst team in the division. They could still make waves with that.
They need to go with the
They
grain
need
now for the
wins,
rest of
don't
the
they?
season.
They
They
need
have
wins.
to. They pretty much now have to run the table, the
Yeah,
Bengals. Otherwise, they're done. They can't
yeah.
afford another
So
loss, and they got to play the Ravens again. They got to play the Steelers twice. They got to play the Browns again.
yeah, so they
Uh,
need to win that.
they've got some rough schedules coming, rough
yeah,
games coming up. But it is now. They are the first man. And if you ever watched Squid Games before, they are the first man that has to cross the bridge of death. Can they survive without breaking the glass?
well,
Yeah,
Squid Games 2 out soon. By the way, are you going to watch it?
yeah. I
Absolutely.
will be.
Got to be done. With that in mind, gents, we do have multiple things to do for the rest of the evening because we've had to push this forward by a day. Very, very much appreciate you coming on a day early. Very glad to talk Thanksgiving Day football with both of you. Have a lovely Thanksgiving and enjoy your weekend of hopefully for you both just pure high octane, high intensity, and high passion football. Oh, and don't forget to check out the college football show because again, this what they starting to get take. College football is really tasty right now, and obviously check out the review show on Tuesday morning. Drops on all platforms, and we will see you next week at the normal time.